I've mentioned this, and you've probably heard that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, the two currently presumptive presidential nominees, are the most disliked presidential candidates in history. We have new data about this. And what better thing than data about how many Americans hate the two likely Democratic and Republican presidential candidates? This is from a new NBC News SurveyMonkey tracking poll out yesterday. And it tells us roughly 6 in 10 Americans hate or dislike both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Let's take a look at these numbers. Hillary Clinton is admired by 17% of Americans. 23% of Americans like but don't admire Hillary Clinton. And as you'll see on the right side of your screen, if you're watching with me, 37% of Americans dislike Hillary Clinton and 21% of Americans hate her. A total of 58% of Americans either hate or dislike Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is admired by only 10% of Americans and disliked by 39%, hated by 24% of Americans. Again, this is based on the NBC News SurveyMonkey tracking poll. So combined, 58% of Americans dislike or hate Hillary Clinton, and 63% of Americans dislike or hate Donald Trump. And this poll is not an outlier. The latest Washington Post ABC News poll released Sunday shows that 57% each say they have an unfavorable opinion of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And of that 57%, 46% say they have a strongly unfavorable opinion of Hillary Clinton, and just about the same number, strongly unfavorable opinion of Donald Trump. Question one is it really democracy when a majority of the country doesn't like either of the two likely presidential candidates? That's sort of question number one. But what that really gets me to is the disastrously low voter turnout in the primaries in the United States. Forget about the low turnout we have in presidential elections every 4 years, which is very, very low, hovering around 50% in many cases. Look at the turnout in the primaries. The turnout in the primaries is a disaster. And if we sort of think about this and carry it to its logical conclusion, on the one hand, we know that the more progressive candidate tends to win when voter turnout is higher. We also happen to know that Bernie Sanders has far higher favorability ratings than Donald Trump, far higher favorability ratings than Hillary Clinton. Put this all together, and it's abundantly clear that if we had more people voting in the primaries, we would have more candidates that we actually like by and large. This particular election cycle, the more progressive candidate and the more liked candidate happens to be the same person. His name is Bernie Sanders. So this isn't about me berating people for not voting. We have a real problem in this country with lack of voter turnout in the national elections. It is even worse in the primary elections. We are where we are. So the question now becomes, where do we stand on third-party candidates in the debates? I wouldn't vote for Jill Stein from the Green Party for president. I've said that before. I wouldn't vote for Libertarian Gary Johnson for president. I've said that before. But I am in favor of them being included on the national debate stage. And we've talked to different lobbyists and experts and activists around this issue of the national debates. And how can we figure out a way to include more voices than just the Democrat and the Republican? The big risk around these third-party candidacies, as we've been talking about, is that if there is a reasonable third-party challenger to Donald Trump on the libertarian, on the right side, not as a Republican, but as a either libertarian or an alternative Republican or whatever, that may please some right-wingers, but it would probably hand the election to the Democratic nominee. And along the same lines, if Bernie Sanders were to ultimately lose this Democratic primary to Hillary Clinton and run as a third-party candidate, as an independent, aside from the logistics of doing that, it would almost certainly hand the election over to Donald Trump. So this is a risk that we've been talking about. As far as the debate, there need to be more people debating than just these two very unpopular people, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Send me your thoughts. How should we figure out who should be on that national debate stage?
Gamefly is sort of like Netflix for video games. They have over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price. There's never any due dates or late fees. And our audience can get a free 30-day trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included. There's no contracts, and you can rent games through the mobile app. Get the free 30-day trial for the David Pakman Show audience and support our show by going to gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.